Hello, I'm John Pluchinski. I'm running for Borough Council. 35 years ago, Ruth and I moved into Oradell, where we raised our two children, Dana and Derek. In terms of my professional background, I have an MBA in Finance and Economics from NYU, and I spent 40 years utilizing that MBA to cost justify hardware and software solutions to financial services.
And I'm Jessica Holmes. I'm also running for Borough Council in Oradell this fall. I've lived in Oradell since 2014, when my husband Chris and I moved here from New York to raise our daughter Ruby, who was a baby at the time, in a family-oriented town. I have a BA in Art History and History from the University of Rochester, and when I lived in New York, I worked for many years for the Calder Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the legacy and work of seminal 20th century American artist Alexander Calder. I worked at the Calder Foundation for 18 years, rising through the ranks to eventually become its deputy director. However, writing is and always has been my passion. In 2013, I earned an MFA from the School of Visual Arts in New York in art writing and criticism, and I began to write freelance on the side as I continued to work at the Calder Foundation. In 2018, I stepped away from that position to pursue a full-time freelance practice, which I continue today. I keep one foot in the art world, and I also now take on clients in the for-profit sector, helping them with editing and communications.
In terms of my community service involvement, about 30 years ago, we became actively involved with Habitat for Humanity, where we have been involved in post-Katrina bills in Louisiana and Mississippi. About the same time, we joined the Reformed Church of Oradell, where I served for 14 years on their consistory, including my last stint as their finance director.
I, like John, also believe in community service. I watched my mom and dad as I was growing up be civically active, and I've tried to follow their example. I'm an active member of the PTA at Oradell Public School, and for the past 2 years have been a class parent in my daughter's classroom. I also regularly volunteer in the school's library. I'm a co-leader of her Girl Scout troop, Troop 7267, who I'm very proud of, and I'm also on the board of trustees at the Oradell Public Library.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about how I came to want to be on the council. Began with my rotation onto the planning board 6 years ago. While on the planning board, I was involved in the master plan rewrite, and two things really drove me to want to be on the planning board and now to want to be on the council. The first was, how do we continue to minimize our tax increases? And the second was, how do we bring back restaurants? So in terms of the first initiative, our taxes are primarily determined by our school budgets. And our school budgets are primarily determined by the size of our population. Now we're at a critical junction right now because we have to satisfy our affordable housing quotients. And it's how you satisfy the affordable housing quotient determines how much your population increases and how much you have to increase your school budget and your taxes. So most of the surrounding towns have addressed that affordable housing issue by partnering with private developers. The problem with partnering with private developers is for every affordable unit they build, they're building a total of 8 other units. So think of the impact on your school budget and your taxes. There's a much better way to satisfy our affordable housing quotient and keep our taxes lower, and that's to partner with Habitat for Humanity and to partner with United Way. If you partner with Habitat for Humanity, for every affordable unit that you build, you only are adding 1 affordable unit. There's no additional units required. Gets even better with partnering with United Way, because for every unit you build with United Way, you get a credit of 2 affordable housing units. So let's translate into a very specific example. If our next tranche of affordable housing is 10 units, if we do it with partnering with private developers, we're going to be building 80 additional units in town. If we do it with Habitat, 10 units requires 10 affordable houses. If we do it with United Way, our quota of 10 only requires 5 special need houses. So do we want to have 80 additional units and the implications for classrooms and teachers and taxes, or do we want to have 5? That's what I'd like to bring from my planning board experience onto the council, how to keep our taxes low. And the second initiative is regarding the restaurants. Regarding the restaurants, we actually fixed the problem with the master plan rewrite in 2019. We were losing our restaurants because we had inadvertently imposed additional regulations on restaurants in the previous master plan. So every time a restaurant vacated, it was never replaced with another restaurant. It was replaced with a bank or a beauty parlor or a nail salon. With the changes we made in the 2019 master plan, for the first time in years, the 2 most recently vacated restaurants, Charlie Brown's and Cool Beans, are now being replaced by new and better restaurants. That's thanks to the regulatory changes. I want to continue that initiative on the council.
On the day I moved into my house on Church Street 9 years ago, I took a walk around the neighborhood and I came across this little sign just past the firehouse on Kinderkamack Road, which said, Oradell, a garden spot in the Garden State. Keep it clean and green. I was really struck by this sign, which still hangs there today, by the way, and I really liked that it prioritized the ecology and nature. I still remember this sign especially because another of my concerns is the imprint that climate change is having on our community. I realize one little town can't conquer the global problem of climate change, but I do think there are things that we can do locally to become a healthier, more sustainable place to live. With a place on the Borough Council, I hope to find, research, and advance the green initiatives that can benefit Oradell and also be an advocate for those residents who are already being impacted by the effects of climate change.
So the nice tie-in to Jessica's involvement with environmental issues is that issue of intelligent development. If you overdevelop, you blow up your environment. If you develop intelligently and only develop what you need, you keep your environment under control. That means less traffic, less pollution, less energy usage. I think combining our 2 initiatives really works for Oradell, whatever way you look at it. And I'm very eager to help transfer my experience on the planning board in terms of keeping our taxes lower and bringing back restaurants to doing the same thing on the council.
And finally, as a parent in the community myself, I look forward to having the chance to bolster Oradell's recreational opportunities and facilities. I think the town already has a great framework in place for this, but I think there's more that we can do to enhance opportunities for our children, and really not just for our children, but for everyone in town, from young people on up through our senior citizens. Everybody deserves to have these kinds of services and opportunities. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'm grateful for your support on November 8th. I look forward to working together with you and for you as a member of the Oradell Borough Council.
Ditto.